Welcome back to First Impressions, a show where I look at a musical I'd never seen before. Today, let's take a look at Newsies. Like when I looked at Hairspray, I kind of knew a little bit about Newsies before I went in. I've had the cast album on my phone for like years, with the full intention of listening to it, and I've just never really got around to it. I'd listened to a couple of them, but never the full thing. But when I got Disney Plus, I decided, you know what, I have this now. I like musicals. I want Disney to keep making more. You know what? Let's take a look at the pro shot. And, I mean, I'm pretty glad I did. So, what do I like? What don't I like? Let's take a look at Newsies. But before we start, if you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Daniel. I'll talk about theatre. It's in my channel name. If you want to hear someone talk about theatre, why not hit subscribe and maybe like the video? Makes me feel all good. But, on to the video. So, for this episode of First Impressions, I'm focusing completely on the pro shot. Alan Menken, as usual, delivers a great score. There are some absolutely amazing songs in this show, from the classic Santa Fe to the big chorus numbers like King of New York and Carrying the Banner, to what is the best song in the entire show, and you can not prove me wrong, it is Watch What Happens. It is amazing. But the problem is that this show suffers with what I call the Disney dilemma. The Disney dilemma is when you have a film and you're like, let's turn this film into a musical. But the film is already a musical in itself. And then you're putting that on stage, but it's not long enough. So you pad it out with some extra songs. But the problem comes from when these songs aren't as good as the ones in the original film. Newsies does suffer from this a little bit. There's a song that I was listening to it and I'm like, Disney Dilemma. I think it's called That's Life or something like that. Daniel, editor Daniel. Hi, editor Daniel. Love you. Can you just put the actual song name on here? Thank you. I think it's called That's Life or something. It's in the club. And I was just like, Disney Dilemma. But I think the worst kind of culprit, just to give you an example of this, is the Broadway Aladdin. Because that musical has the most classic songs. It's got Friend Like Me, A Whole New World, Prince Ali, and then you've also got Diamond in the Rough and Somebody's Got Your Back. And these songs aren't bad necessarily. The problem is that these songs don't gel with the ones that are from the original film. And therefore, they stand out a lot more. But I think Newsies, out of all the shows I've seen, is probably the least affected by this. All the performances in this show are spectacular, really. Now, I will say it was a decision to bring back all the original
main cast,
even though they aged quite a bit and didn't look young enough to play these roles. But honestly, I think I forgive that, because it means that I got to see Jeremy Jordan perform Santa Fe, which is high art, to say the least. The dance in the show is a given plus. It's so intricately done and so visually interesting to watch. But there was a certain point in the show where I kind of turned off from watching it. Like there was too much, and there was a certain point where I was just like, yeah, this isn't as interesting to me anymore. I don't know why, because it's very extra and it's so impressive that people can even do these feats. But personally, I'm not the biggest fan of dance. This is a very personal standpoint. It's objectively good, this dance. You have to admire the artistry behind it. But I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. I'm not overly a dancey person. And it's okay, because theatre is what? Subjective! Thank you, James. Maybe with a live viewing, my opinions would change, but that's there for now. Now, when it comes to the plot, I think it's interesting enough. I think it's a good story. I do wish they kind of used Crutchy a little bit more in Act 1, because they kind of forget about him and then try and use him as a sympathy tool. And that doesn't really work when we've only seen little bits of Crutchy. I wish he was there along with the other three people a lot more, starting the campaign and doing all of this and having more of an integral part in Act 1. And then when he's taken away at the end of Act 1, it becomes a lot more effective, because you've truly seen Jack and his relationship kind of come forth, and then he has more of a link to the other guys as well. It's all about building these relationships in the show, and I don't know if I truly saw enough of Crutchy to really feel that, power when he comes back at the end of Act 2. That being said, I do really like the dynamic between our three leads. I think they all play off each other very well. I think they've all got very distinct personalities, which is always fun to watch people play with on stage. And they all have like a very strong journey throughout the show. Another relationship that I really like in the show, actually, is Pulitzer and Jack. I love it when a villain and a hero, you can tell they kind of admire each other a little bit. I think that's the best kind of dynamic between a hero and a villain that you can get in like any media. That being said though, little tiny nitpick, I wish that their kind of negotiation at the end didn't go too shouty too quickly. That was something that really bugged me, because it felt like the argument hadn't even got there yet, and it was just suddenly shouting, and it needed a bit more build up there. But very nitpicky. This whole review is very nitpicky. And finally, as a sucker for good set design, let me talk about this set design, because it good. I like this set design. It's simple. It's very simple. It's like 3 kind of tall scaffold towers, but the way they use it is very effective. They kind of move them around, and it creates these different shapes on stage. And what it really does is it makes the stage come alive from the bottom to the top. Because you've got Newsies right at the top looking down. You've got Newsies down doing the dance at the front of the stage. It's very lively, and I am a big fan of that. And then it's such a smart decision to have like the screens come down and use for projection. I mean, it really creates this kind of image of like New York, and it's great. I really like the set design. So, would I recommend Newsies? Well, if you got Disney Plus and you haven't watched it yet, go and do that. I think it's a nice piece of theatre. I think if you're feeling a bit down and you want something to lighten you up, it's a nice one to go to. It's got those big Broadway dance numbers. It's got classic songs. It's fun for the whole family, really. Go watch Newsies. Thank you for watching another episode of First Impressions. If you want to watch some other episodes of First Impressions, the playlist is on screen right now. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. And comment down below any suggestions you have for future episodes of First Impressions, or comment your thoughts on Newsies. Till next time, I've been Daniel. Bye!